Hello and welcome to the Library of Congress. Please silence your cell phones and please do not use flash photography during this event. Please help us welcome the library's Director of Programming, Sherry Werb.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. I have been waiting 7 years to say that because that wasn't just any special hello. That's me saying hello to you all and the Source, the Library of Congress's new experiential gallery for families and youth. In full, we call it the Source, where curiosity sparks discovery, and today is its first day. Happy 0th birthday, the Source. Who has visited the Source already today? Show of hands. Excellent, thank you. That's great. If you haven't yet, I hope you explore it before you go home today. Again, I'm Sherry Werb, the director of the Center for Learning, Literacy, and Engagement, and I lead programming here at the library. It's wonderful to see you all here. The Source was made possible by many people working together throughout the library, especially the staff in the Center for Learning, Literacy, and Engagement, the Centers for Exhibits and Interpretation, and many members of the team who worked on the project are actually here with us today. Could you please stand? Shy people. Many of those people are actually in the Source right now, so you'll see them there too. A dynamic and interactive experience for everyone, the Source empowers budding researchers like yourselves in the audience today to dig deep into the library's collections, analyze information, and discover new perspectives. The Source is a learning space where kids are in the driver's seat. There are several members of the Youth Advisory Council in the audience this afternoon who consulted on the development of the Source. These committee members, many of whom are no longer teens themselves, I told you this took 7 years to build, they were instrumental in the development of the content, especially our cool research boxes. Plus, we had dozens of teen interns who worked with us over the years. We couldn't have done this mighty undertaking without them. And many thanks to all of you. If you're here, please stand for applause. I know there are some in the Source today. Good. Okay, I'm thrilled that 2 stars of the children's book world, Raina Telgemeier and Scott McCloud, are here today to talk about their latest book and help us celebrate the opening of the Source. Their most recent book, The Cartoonists Club, a graphic novel, is about a group of friends trying to figure out how to be creative and get their ideas onto the page. I wish the Source had been open to help their characters figure it all out. That is exactly how the Source can help you with your ideas and curiosity. I bet if you're here, you know about Raina and Scott, but let me tell you a little bit about them. Raina is the #1 New York Times best-selling, multiple Eisner Award-winning creator of Smiles, Sisters, and Guts, which are all graphic memoirs based on her childhood. She is also the creator of Drama and Ghosts and the adapter and illustrator on the first 4 Babysitters Club graphic novels. I think I've seen them in people's hands around here. And Scott is the #1 New York Times best-selling author of Understanding Comics, the invisible art making comics storytelling secrets of comics, manga, and graphic novels, Zot and the Sculptor. Scott is a frequent lecturer on the power of visual communications and creator of the International 24-Hour Comics Day. Now, before Raina and Scott join us, let me explain how you'll be able to meet them after the program today at 3 p.m. You each received a round sticker when you entered this auditorium today. Keep it somewhere visible when you get in line upstairs on the 2nd floor above the Great Hall. That's your ticket to get to meet Raina and Scott in person. You can say hello and take a photo with them in this line. The authors want to meet everyone who's here today, so they have pre-signed some book plates for you. I'm holding up an example sticker, but I don't have it. but you'll see it. Please don't ask them to sign your books today. Don't worry, every kid who attended this program can receive a signed book plate at the meet and greet. You can buy a copy of the Cartoonists Club from the LOC bookshop, as well as a copy of Raina's Smile and Scott's Understanding comics. When the program ends, take your time to get upstairs to join the meet and greet line. Again, Raina and Scott will see every person who attended this program today. Thank you for being here, celebrating the Source birthday with us, and hearing from these wonderful authors. Let's welcome Scott and Raina to the stage.
Just
Hi,
realized
everybody.
I want to turn this on.
It's on. Hi. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Raina.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Ooh, we're jumping. Okay.
we would have done that. We were going to do this last year, but they closed down the government when they heard that we were coming.
Yeah.
So they had to reschedule.
Yeah, it happens. Well, it shouldn't happen, but it did. I think it's you. Yeah. But we're here now, and that's great. And the government's open now, and that's great too.
Yay.
So we are so happy to be here. We like the government, but we love the Library of Congress so much. We got a little tour before we got up on stage here. Did you guys get to go see the building first? Some
So
of you
beautiful.
is this anybody's first time here? Oh my gosh, isn't it so cool? It's
so
pretty.
exciting.
So many, there's a lot of books here too. Some really important and old books too. We like libraries a lot. We're going to talk about them some here today. But
And
first,
they have
go ahead.
comics here. They have comics here.
They
I'm
do.
so excited.
They do. It's really awesome.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about our book, The Cartoonists Club, which is a book we made together. Came out last April. And this is a book about 4 kids, and they are
Michaela, who has a million ideas but doesn't know where to start.
Howard, who likes to make people laugh and loves to doodle.
Art, who's curious about the world and loves learning new things.
And Linda, who is very talented, but also very shy and afraid to kind of open herself up to others.
And this is the story of how Michaela and Howard, with the help of their library media specialist, Miss Fatima, start a cartoonist club in their middle school that soon attracts the attention of Art and Linda.
And this is where they turn their big daydreams into story ideas.
Where they learn how to choose the tool that's right for them.
Where they learn to open themselves and their sketchbooks up to others.
Where they learn how to make mini comics.
How to get in trouble for making mini comics.
How to draw facial expressions and body language and all the special symbols that cartoonists use.
The joy of putting something new out into the world.
The secret science of how comics work.
The magic and mystery of the blank page.
But mostly it's about 4 kids making stories, making pictures.
And making friends. Oh my goodness, this book is so sincere.
But here's a little bit about us.
Yeah. We'll start with me. Some of you might know me from the work I've done up till now. I started as the... Thanks. My first career move was drawing the Babysitters Club graphic novels for Scholastic Graphics. After that, I did this memoir called Smile, which was like about my dental experiences as a middle schooler. Thanks. Yeah, and then I followed that up with a bunch of other graphic novels. I did 2 fiction graphic novels called Drama and Ghosts. I did 2 other memoirs about my life and my family and my childhood, Sisters in Guts. And I have this awesome cat named Kiku. He's a cat, so he likes to sit on paper. This makes it hard to be a cartoonist because he's always like, ooh, paper. And, you know, I'm like, get off my paper. And he has this big brushy tail, so he loves to like stick it into what I'm inking. And so he just like drags his tail through my ink. But he's an excellent cat, so, you know, he's a good companion. He's very cute.
Now, meanwhile, I've been making comics for about 40 years. Now, most of you kids probably haven't seen my stuff, but I'll bet a couple of your parents may have seen this book that I did called Understanding Comics a long time ago. Thank you, parents. And this is a book where I go all around the panels and explain how comics work. A bit like my dad, who was a scientist. I'm a bit of a comic scientist.
And I actually read this book when I was a teenager. My dad got a copy of Understanding Comics. He read it. He was like, this is so nerdy and good. I'm going to give this to my nerdy child, Raina. And so I read it, and I was like, cool. Not only do I love comics, but now I understand them. Oh,
You do understand comics. And can we all just thank Raina's dad? Because that is really cool. And in order to do what I do, I have to read a ton of comics when my rescue dog Rags lets me, because he's constantly sitting on my reading chair. But it's okay, because he's the cutest pet in all the world.
I mean, Rags is cute, but I personally feel like Kiku might be the cutest pet in all the world.
Well, Kiku is extremely cute, I'll admit. But Rags is cuter.
I mean, Rags is pretty cute, but I think Kiku's cuter.
Rags is cuter.
Kiku's cuter.
Rags is cuter.
Kiku's cuter. What if we agree to disagree and say that Kiku's the cutest cat in all the world and Rags is the cutest dog in all the world?
Deal.
All right, cool.
All right. So how did the Cartoonist Club get started?
You want me to take both microphones? Would that?
I think you do that. Oh, right. You don't need the mic. You need the... That was good.
So like so many good stories, this one actually begins at the San Diego Comic-Con. So Scott and I, both being cartoonists, we tend to go to comic conventions, and we both go to the comic convention in San Diego very frequently. And we were there in 2019, and we were both at a party thrown by my publisher, Scholastic Graphics. So we were chatting, as we often do, and I had this idea kind of burning in the back of my head for many years, because I was a fan of Understanding Comics. So many of our peers and colleagues are a fan of that book. We always recommend it to people. But I had been asked by my fans for many years, Raina, what do you recommend if I have a kid, or if I'm a kid, or I'm a librarian or a teacher who I have somebody who loves comics and wants to understand them better? And I was like, if you're a kid, I feel like you should maybe wait until you're 14 or 15 or 16 to read Understanding Comics, because it's just a little bit above your head. But I wish there was a book like that for kids. And then I was like, oh, I wish Scott would make a book like that for kids. And I was like, I don't think he ever will. And maybe I have to make it. Man, but I don't think I'm qualified to make it. And then I was like, okay, maybe the best thing to do is just to ask the best person I know, who's this guy, if he wants to do it with me. It's like, sometimes you just got to do the thing. So I went up to Scott. We've been friends for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
That's the good news. And I was like, Scott, what do you think you'd get if you combined Understanding Comics with, like, Smile? And this was Scott's response.
I don't know. Would that work?
And luckily, Scott's family was standing there with him at this party, and this was their response.
Yes. Say yes. You're going to do this.
So in this case, a round of applause for Scott's family.
Yeah.
And again, here's the timing. This was summer of 2019. And then a few months later, nothing very interesting was going on, if you'll recall. No, truly, like nobody was doing anything, and including us. Like I had just finished Guts, and I had just finished my book tour. You were working on some stuff.
Yeah.
But everything was kind of just, we were all sitting around at home, and you were like, you know what, Raina, let's give it a shot. Let's put our heads together. So we both just thought about it for a while and started bouncing ideas off of each other for what that idea might look like. So we wrote a pitch. We wrote a pitch that was like, okay, a group of kids like that love comics, and maybe they form a club at their school or something, okay? And we sent this pitch off to graphics, and they came back and they said, sure, okay, sounds good. Make a book. It took us a few
it took a
years
while
to make it happen. So we'll talk about that in a second, but let's go back in time a little bit further to Raina and Scott as kids, because I think this is really where this book takes its roots. So once again, I'm going to start and tell you about what I was like as a kid. I loved to read comics. I found them in the newspaper. We're talking Calvin and Hobbes. We're talking For Better or For Worse, Luann, Garfield, the classics of an 80s kid, Peanuts. But I didn't have a group of kids at a club, say, who wanted to make comics with me. I was the only kid I knew who really liked comics. I didn't have a book to teach me. I didn't have a teacher to teach me. I didn't have anything. I just had to figure it out on my own. And as you can see, I did not know what I was doing, and I wasn't very good at this.
I think these are actually really good. But yeah, you were going to learn a lot of stuff.
I mean, I didn't know things like draw the box first and then put the picture inside of the box. Or figure out what you want to say in the word balloon and then make sure that it all fits inside of the word balloon first. So I just kept going. I just kept on doing this. And if you do something a bunch of times, you do get better at it. This is one from about age 11. And in this case, it's a girl who wants to go to the mall, and she's trying to get her mom to take her to the mall. Mom would much rather just drink her cup of coffee as slowly as possible. So I didn't even bother with the boxes this time, but I was just like, okay, Mom is just gonna like take a sip of coffee, and then you bite a snack, and another sip, and the girl's just like, can you go any faster than that? What I was interested here is showing how time works. So even at 11, even before I had read Understanding Comics, that's what I was interested in playing with. So that's what comics can do, is you can do cool stuff like that. So I was just ready for a book like yours, Scott. But what I was really ready for was for a community of people to talk about stuff like that with. Another thing I was doing at around age 11 was drawing fan art of my favorite book series, The Babysitter's Club by Anna Martin. And the only reason Stacy is not in this drawing is because it was canon. She had just moved back to New York City, you see, so she wasn't in the club anymore. Mallory and Jesse were being inducted as junior babysitters. She came back eventually. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But here's the thing. I did not know that 20 years later this was going to be my full-time job. This was just my sketchbook, right?
Yeah. If you remember one thing from this talk, remember that picture? Those little daydreams that you're putting in your journals, or you're sitting in the corner drawing, sometimes those things become the real thing many years later.
You just never know.
Yeah.
But this is why, when people ask me, like, who do you relate to the most in the Cartoonists Club? I think it's Linda, because Linda is the loner in the club. She's the one who's just off by herself in the corner of the library. She's sketching. She's got a lot of talent. She's got a lot of natural, something. She just doesn't have a community yet. She doesn't have the friendships yet. She doesn't have anybody to show her work to, which is what will eventually help her to grow. So that's who I was as a kid. Oh, this is important. Yes, I didn't start making mini comics until I was in college. And that's when I started to really open up. This is how I ended up sharing my work with other people. I put my comics and all of those sketches into little booklets, and then I could start handing them out to people. Then I could start showing my work to people. Then I was able to open myself up and share my work with a community of people. So this is why we have a tutorial in the Cartoonists Club for how to make mini comics. This gives kids the chance to share their work with other people and start to form their community.
Yep. There's nothing like actually making it and giving it to a friend. Even just one friend, it can make a big difference. Don't put it off. Make your comic, share it, and you'll find your people. It's wonderful. Now, when I was a kid, I actually wasn't afraid to share my work. I did have some friends in the neighborhood who also made cartoons and comics and things like this, but I did have one big fear. I was afraid of the blank page. To me, blank pages were scary because that paper, it was so beautiful and perfect, and what if I ruined it with my terrible drawings? In fact, I found these recently. These are 2 pages done with blue ballpoint pen while I was waiting for my class to start 50 years ago. These are literally 50 years old. But if you look on the back, you'll see that the pieces of paper had already been used for something else. That was very important to me because I had to know that that paper had already been used, because then I couldn't ruin it, right? Well, eventually I started making this whole big comic with a friend of mine, Kurt, using graphite pencil on typing paper. And I was always still scared. I was still scared of making mistakes. But I had these other friends, and they were making these things called Quanto comics. And in Quanto comics, you do a title on the top, and you give it to a friend, and then they do a goofy, silly comic, and they do it very fast. We called them Quanto comics because it was about quantity, not quality, right? And having friends who made messy comics, silly comics, funny comics, that helped me to get over my fears. And I went from being so we included Quanto comics in the Cartoonists Club because we wanted other kids to have that experience too of learning to loosen up and just have fun and not be afraid of mistakes. So I went from being afraid of the blank page to being excited about the blank page and all of its possibilities. And in that way, I was a little bit like our character of art. So, how did we make the Cartoonists Club? Well, the most important thing you have to know is that Raina writes and draws, I write and draw. And when we teamed up, it wasn't like one of us was going to take one of those and the other was going to take the other. We wanted to both do both. And so we both did both. And we started with what we call thumbnails, where you do these little doodly, sloppy drawings, and you figure out what's going to go in the panels, what's going to go in the word balloons, what they're going to say. And if you look closely, you'll see that two different people drew these different panels. We went back and forth. Raina would do 6 or 7 pages. I'd do 6 or 7 pages. Sometimes we'd do one panel at a time. Sometimes we'd redraw each other's panels. This is how we figured out what kind of story this was going to be, by doing a really sloppy, messy, goofy version of the story so that we could read our comic before we drew it. And then once we decided what it was going to be, Raina did these more detailed sketches and then turned them into what we call pencils, which is where you figure out where all the lines are going to go. Then those lines were inked by a terrific inker, Ray Bear. But you see that empty spot there? This was the fun part, because Raina drew the kids, and I got to draw what the kids drew. So we had it split up that way. So I got to be Art and Linda and Michaela and Howard and Ms. Fatima while Raina drew them all. So it was a nice, fun split there. And then it was colored by Benny Holman, lettered by Jesse Post. But it's in that first magical stage that something really cool happened when we were still figuring out how the story was going to go.
Yes, so when we first began working on the story, and we still didn't know exactly what shape it was going to take, when we first wrote that pitch, remember at the very beginning in 2019, if you count, you might see that there's 5 characters on this piece of pitch paper. And that's because originally we had Linda being slightly older. She was very cool and confident and talented. And she had a younger sister named Nell, who was very shy and nervous and sat in the corner. She was kind of a tag-along. She just played video games. She didn't really say very much. And they all came to the library on a Saturday to take a cartooning class. And the teachers were these 2 characters. It was very meta. Raina and Scott were the teachers of this class. And so we wrote 250 pages of a script where we taught them a class. And we walked in and out of the panels. And we explained the fundamentals of comics and how interesting they can be. And our editors read this draft. And they were like, well, it's kind of pretty good. We mostly like this. It's all right, you guys. And we want you to do another draft and make it better. We're not exactly sure how you're going to make it better. You're just going to do that. We want you to make it a little bit more kid-friendly.
Yeah.
And
it felt kind of teachy.
A little teachy.
Yeah, it was a little bit, I don't know.
And that was about as much of the notes as we got. And we were like, okay, all right. They said make it more like a Raina book. And okay, that's another note.
Reasonable.
What does that mean? I'm not sure. So I sat down and said, all right, I'll try my hand at a second draft. And so I sat down and started to write. And I got about 30 pages in. And I realized what needed to change. And I was like, hey, Scott, I figured it out. And I'm so sorry to tell you what needs to change is that we have to kill our darlings. And it's us. And I think we could also maybe consolidate the characters. I think we could have Linda just be one character. And so she sort of became a combination of Linda and Nell. And she became the more quiet kid in the corner. And as soon as we took ourselves out of it,
oh my gosh,
it
so much better.
It was better. I mean, it's
we were
humbling.
the problem.
Yeah. We do better just standing on the stage explaining all of this,
Yeah.
I think. And it really was a magic moment.
Yeah.
And
the magic was that as soon as it was the 4 kids, all of a sudden it was their story. And it wasn't about us teaching them. It wasn't about us sending the knowledge down to the children. It was more about them teaching us the kind of story they wanted to tell. And everything made sense. The way I like to think of it like a river that just started flowing in the right direction. Now, we still did a 3rd version of the story because, you know, it takes time to get things right.
yeah.
But then, I don't know, it all came together, and I just love that.
It all came together. It took 5 years for this book to happen, but good things take time. So
Indeed.
now we're going to talk about what makes comics so special. I mean, we all sort of feel it, but we like to go into, like, now we are going to do the preachy, teachy comics thing. Because
We love comics.
yeah, we really do. So first of all, anybody can make them. And I really do mean it. So I'm gonna point at people in the audience and say, yes, you can make them. And also, you can make them. And you with the glasses right there, yes, you can make them. And you in front of him, you can make them too. And I really could point at every single one of you. And even if you've never made a comic before, I'm going to prove it to you in just a second. And there's not that much you need to do it. You can use the most fancy, new model of the thing from the store that costs a lot of money. But you don't have to use that thing. You could also use these things. These things are good. You can use a stick and some sand at the beach. Those things work too. It's really just about communicating ideas. And it's about putting 2 pictures next to another, well, it's about putting 1 picture next to another picture.
Yeah.
Right?
Just like one picture after another to tell a story or
well-
tell a joke. Anything.
What's the actual definition of comics, Scott McCloud?
Oh, in my book, I defined comics as juxtaposed pictorial and other images in deliberate sequence. But I don't really expect people to be like calling them that. You're just like one picture after another.
That's it. Yeah. Cool. So here are some examples of comics that some kids made at a school that I went to one time. And some of these kids have natural drawing talent, some of them don't, but they're all using this combined language that cartoonists use, and that language is pictures, words, captions, sound effects, background details, panels. They're all using the same language. And again, some of them have some natural talent. They're using large pictures, small pictures. Eee! That's a language. They're using things like emanata, which are little sweat beads, and hearts that come out of your head, that emanate from your head.
The facial expressions, look at that.
Facial expressions. Cool. This is possibly my favorite comic out of all of them, because this one uses stick figures. But how good is the communication here? It's so rock solid. Check out that fish.
Look at that. I love the stick figure fish.
That fish is so good. You can't tell me that you can't draw, because all of you can draw a fish that good. I promise you can. Anybody can do this. Anybody with an imagination can do this. Or if you don't have an imagination, I always tell kids this, what did you have for breakfast? And they're like, waffles. And I'm like, waffles are so funny.
Oh, yeah.
You can do this. So you've got it. You've got all the tools you need. Reason number 2.
All right. And for this one, actually, Raina is going to help me, and we totally forgot to bring out the little piano stool here for you to sit on.
Well,
but
maybe we can make it happen.
Might need. Yeah, let's gently move this your way. Okay. There we go. Okay, so you may have heard people tell you that comics are fun and all, but only real books are the things that you should be reading. You should read real books, because comics, you won't have to use your imagination. Well, we beg to differ, because I think as much as we love real books, I think that when you put one picture after another, you do use your imagination, and we're going to prove that to you. In fact, you're going to prove it to us. Raina, would you like to pick a number between 1 and 10?
Yes, I will choose number 1.
All right, go ahead and click on that first little guy there.
Okay.
All right, now look at these two pictures next to each other. Raina, would you like to suggest a possible story that those two pictures might be telling you?
Yes, I will go at it from the dog's point of view. I will have the dog thinking in panel number 2, I thought that was my best friend, but he's outside having so much fun without me.
That's a good story, right? You can imagine that. But at the same time, as you guys are looking at those two pictures, can any of you imagine a slightly different story that those same two pictures might be telling you? Any ideas? Go ahead and raise your hands. We have a couple of folks with mics there who are going to come down. Why don't we start on the left here? And if you could select one of these fine folks with their hands up.
Leona.
All right. Would you like to tell us a little, just in a few words, a little story that suggests?
Again, from the dog's point of view.
Yeah?
I want to be outside there. Why? Why won't he let me out?
Awesome. I love your doggy voice. All right. And now let's hear just a third possibility for that same two pictures, a different story that those same two pictures might be suggesting for you from over on this side. Ooh, I have a hand.
From the human's point of view, I think the human is having more fun because he's just really glad to be rid of the dog.
So you see, different stories, same pictures. Now, could somebody on this...
Sorry, could we get the little chair that I...
Oh, yeah. We originally had a...
just that one, that little...
Somehow the
little
piano bench never made it this far. Hold
that
on.
would work if we can do it.
Let's try this.
I'm allowed to sit on it.
So sorry. Here we go.
Middle-aged knees. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Yay, we have knees. Cartoonists have knees. Okay,
Thank you.
now, would somebody on this side like to pick a number between 1 and 10? Other than 1?
13.
Well, okay, let's jump to 13. That's okay. That's cool.
Okay.
No, that's all right. No,
Oh, no.
let's do 13. It's
One
okay.
and- oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
All right.
All right. Would anyone on this side like to suggest what story those three pictures might be telling? Use your imaginations.
So the elephant made a big mess, and the human has to clean it up, and the monkey is laughing at the human because they have to clean up the mess.
That makes a lot of sense. That sounds like a very sensible story from those three pictures. On the other hand, is it possible that there's a completely different story that those same three pictures might be telling?
So the elephant pooped on the floor, and then after that, the lady has to clean it up, and then after that, the monkey probably jumps on her.
So the monkey jumps on the lady. Aha. Okay, let's do another number between, this time between 13 and 22. How about? Bigger number.
17.
17. Let's see what 17 is. Oh. All right, would somebody on this side like to tell us what story these three pictures are telling us? Thanks.
The guy with the VR is controlling the girl and the two boys.
Awesome. Oh, I love it. Okay, super. Now, would somebody like to tell me a slightly different story that those 3 pictures are telling you?
The boy in the VR game is playing, and he wins the game and wins a teddy bear for the girl, and then they high five each other.
Awesome. Okay, let's just do one more. Now, a different number between, in the teens.
14.
14. Let's try 14. Okay, last one. Can we think of any stories that suggests to you?
The lady's trying to eat breakfast, but she's getting distracted by the horse video on her computer.
Awesome. Okay, one more. Again, a different story, same pictures.
So the lady is very, very sad and like stressed, and she can't do her work because the horse guy ate her food.
There you go. Great use of imaginations. All right, Raina, if we could go back to our sort of blank slate on the recycle thingy. All right, now, here's a question. Did any of you have your hands up with a story you wanted to tell, but you didn't get picked? Any of you? A whole lot of you. Okay, did any of you have a story that was really, really good and you couldn't wait to share it? And it was just like, oh, I got a good story, but you didn't get a chance. Did that happen to anyone? Yeah, I think so. Remember that feeling. You, all of you are all filled with stories. And you don't even need our silly pictures to get those stories started. Those stories are in you. You are ready anytime you want. You don't even need boxes and rectangles. You're ready to tell your story.
All right, reason number 3. So making comics creates communities. We kind of keep coming back to that theme, but we're going to really dial down on it because we like it. So I'm going to talk again about me as a little kid and how I really wished I had some friends or a teacher or somebody to kind of tell me about why, I wished I had friends. Oh, that's so sad. I wished I had comics friends. But I started making mini comics when I was in college. I went to New York where there's a lot of comics people. I started going to comic conventions and meeting a lot of other comics people. And then when I started making graphic novels and publishing them with Scholastic, I was like, wait, so many kids like to read comics. This is awesome. And so I met all these graphic novel readers, and suddenly there were all these kids that were like, more comics, please, and we want to make comics too. And I was like, this is the best. And eventually, the Babysitters Club graphic novels in particular got so popular that I didn't even have time to draw them anymore because I was so busy writing Smile and Sisters and Guts and everything. So other artists started to draw them after me. And up on screen, you can see next to me, that's Gail, and that's Gabby, and that's Chan, and Cynthia, and Shauna. So they have been drawing Babysitters Club graphic novels. Now there's the Babysitters Club Little Sister graphic novels. So we have sort of become our own community. Many of us are friends. I consider them all my younger siblings. It's very special. Gail in particular is very special to me because Gail was actually my intern once upon a time. Back when I was drawing drama, it turned out that we were neighbors, and Gail gave me a resume. This is back in the day, at New York Comic Con once. They came up to me and they were like, hi, I would like to be your intern maybe, and here's a resume. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. So Gail would come over and help me scan pages, and I would make them sandwiches and stuff. And then they went off to art school, and unbeknownst to me, Scholastic hired them to be the next Babysitters Club illustrator. And then Gail went on to draw fresh start and freestyle. And like Gail is phenomenal. Gail is an amazing cartoonist.
Wonderful.
And so it's been really fun to be like in community with all of this group of people. This is like the BSC crew. I just want to point them out. That's Anne and Martin on the left in the green jacket. That's David Levithan next to her. He has been Anne's assistant since he was 18 years old. And then he went on to be not only like an editor at Scholastic, but he has also overseen the Babysitters Club graphic novel project. He was my liaison to Anne when I first started working on the series 20 years ago. Oh my goodness. And to say things like, no, Claudia's hair can't be short, it has to be long. And Anne doesn't like Mary Ann's sweater in this page. And then Gail took over after me, there's me, and then Cassandra, who's been my editor at Scholastic since 2007, and now she oversees the whole Babysitters Club graphic novel franchise series. Why am I saying all of this? There is a reason. So I said I would never do it, but I have actually come out of retirement to draw another Babysitters Club book. And I am doing it with Gail. We teamed up, and we are doing a super special together. So what is a super special? It is one where each Babysitters Club character narrates a chapter of the book. These were a thing. Check the 1980s. We promise it's real. And the very first one was published in 1988 when I was 11, and it's called Babysitters on Board. They go on a cruise, and then they go to a theme park. So Gail and I drew alternate chapters of the book. I took 4 characters, she took 4 characters. Of course, it's full of like romance and nonsense and debacles, and the story is so much fun. It is like 370 pages long. So we finished drawing it last fall, I think, and it comes out on September 15th. I don't think I've ever had more fun drawing a book, no offense to Scott whatsoever.
None taken.
But because it was already written, and I loved this book when I was 11 years old, and they go to not actually Disney World, but basically fake Disney World. Like, I got to draw the characters riding fake Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is like my dream come true, Scott. No offense to the Cartoonists Club, which is my favorite of all time.
I want to go to fake Disney World.
So much fun. And Gail is so awesome. So like working with Gail, collaborating with Anne and David and Cassandra and like the whole crew. I came out of retirement to draw another Babysitters Club book. Oh my God! So yay. So this is community, right? Like this is what I mean. Like I get to have so much fun. And Scott and I got to be in community when we drew our book too. So it's just everything about this.
Comics really is one big happy family.
So
I mean,
true.
you have the occasional crazy uncle, which might be me, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, it's a real family feeling these days.
And now we're going to talk about libraries, because they are also one of the best community spaces
Yeah, absolutely.
that we have. And I mean, we're in America's library right now.
We are.
Nothing's better than that. But I'm going to talk about a special library that the Cartoonist Club takes place in, which is based on a real one in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Yeah.
The Ann Arbor District Library is the setting for this actual library in the book. Scott and I got to go there last year. We were guests at A2CAF, which is a comic convention that happens there. I've been going to it for many years. It was Scott's first time there.
Very first time. It was wonderful.
And the special thing about this comic convention is not only do like professional big adult cartoonists get to table there, so do kids. So if you're a kid cartoonist and you make comics, you too can stand behind the table and sell your work to the people that come. And what it does is it erases the distance between everybody.
Yeah, between you and us.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like everybody's part of the family in comics.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important is that we happen to be standing on the stage, but I bet there's some other cartoonists in this audience today. Does anybody here like to draw comics?
Yeah.
We're the same. We're exactly the same. There's nothing separating you from us. We all like to make comics. And that's you and I are friends. You and me are friends. Like you started where I started, as is proof that we have just shown you. So that is community right there. Please talk to us about your comics afterwards. We'd like to see them. You know, and so we feel that way about libraries. We feel that way about comics. And not only does Ann Arbor have a festival like that, so many other libraries all over the country do too.
All over. This one, for instance, in Thousand Oaks, California. That's where I was living up until a couple of years ago. So yeah, there are library cons are multiplying all over the country.
They're free to get into. Librarians are kind of the best. Most of them are geeks. A lot of them like comics. The Library of Congress has a comics collection. I mean, they were up on the second floor, like talking about it earlier today, and they're probably still there. Check out The Source. Like, The Source is brand new. I feel bad that I don't get to spend more time here today, like checking out what you guys have done. Congratulations.
Yes,
like
indeed.
Another hand for like what they're doing here. This is so cool. Making it available to kids. And I think that's what libraries do, Scott, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think, libraries are one of those very special places that bring people together. They can be a refuge, they can be a gathering place, and it's a place where kids, all sorts of different kids, can come together with shared interests, but also a place where a lot of kids feel safe in exploring their own very unique paths, too. So you come together, but you also feel as if you have that ability to be yourself in places like this and to discover your own path. And that, that brings us to this idea that comics allow you to feel seen, to feel for who you are.
People talk about the idea of books being both mirrors and windows, and that is to say that you can see yourself on the page in a mirror, but you may also be able to look through a window and see somebody else's experience. And we do mean see, because it is a visual medium. You can see somebody else or yourself on the page. So if you happen to be somebody who's never seen yourself in a story before, but you look at a panel or you look in the background and you see, wait a second, that character is wearing something that I wear, or that character has shoes like I wear, or they have a family that looks kind of like my family and I've never seen that before. You feel seen in a way that maybe you haven't before, and that's really wonderful. And it's important to know that if you have never seen yourself on the page before, but you want to pick up that pen or that pencil or that stick and that, field of sand at the beach, and you draw your experience, that means that somebody else may see themselves in a drawing that you have made, and that's powerful too. So please draw yourself, draw your experience, draw what you have lived as well.
Yeah. Draw your story.
Graphic novels also allow us to ask some very big questions, like, do I have anything to say? And if I do say it, will anybody be there to listen?
And this brings us back finally to that concept of the blank page. Both Raina and I saw comics as a blank page that was capable of telling our stories when we started out, but also capable of telling many different kinds of stories, just like Raina was just saying, stories in which everyone has someone who's expressing what it is to be that reader, more and more people feeling seen. And this is one of the most exciting things that's happened just in that last 20 years or so. Very short amount of time. So many more people are seeing themselves in comics. So many more different kinds of people from different backgrounds are making comics. There are so many more comics about so many new subjects. It's been a tremendously exciting 20 years. And we really hope that all of that progress is going to continue for the next 20 years instead of being erased, because that is a blank page that we hope we will never see. So,
And to that end, we hope that you will help us be part of that next chapter. Help us to write it, help us to read it. Pick up a pen or a pencil or that expensive thing. You don't even need that expensive thing, though. All you need is something to write with and draw with and express your ideas. So please help us write that next chapter. So if you would, on the count of 3, we'd like all of you to say comics. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Thank you all so much. And now, if I could stop dropping things, I'm going to do some drawing. And while I draw, we're going to have a little Q&A. So I think we've
All right, if you could pick a question or two for us. I have a whole bunch down here.
All right.
I think they're going to start in the back there.
And while we're getting set up for that, I just want to call out the fact that, yes, I am using expensive tools here, but that's because it's easier to see the screen than it would be for me to set up an easel and markers and stuff. And I sometimes do this in bigger rooms. And the tools I'm using, because everybody wants to know, I've got an iPad and an Apple Pencil, and the program is called Procreate. The program is available for any iPad, but you don't have to use this one to do what I'm doing. You can use any drawing platform on any tablet and get a pretty similar result. This is just what I happen to be using right now.
And you can use a pencil.
You sure can.
Which you did quite recently.
The reason I use this tool is because it mimics paper and pencil really well. So I'm going to sketch with a replica of a pencil tool. It's going to look like this. That's going to replicate my pencil. That's just kind of like a blue drawing tool. And then I'm going to switch out with a black drawing tool to mimic an ink pen afterwards. So you'll see me sketching, and then you'll see me inking over it. So go ahead.
All right. I think we have a question back there.
Hello. What's your favorite part of like the drawing process, like the inking, the pencils, which part?
What's yours, Scott?
My favorite is that first part we showed you where everything is really sloppy, but you're deciding where people go in the panel and what they're saying. That's the most exciting for me because it's all about making choices, and I love that.
That's the scariest part for me, actually. The deciding and the choices. I like when all the choices have been made and all of the things have been put where they're supposed to go. Like the part that I'm doing right now, where I'm sort of figuring it out. It's exciting and it's fun, but it's really scary.
Yeah.
And if things don't fit, I have to redo them, and you're going to see me like, I'm going to erase some stuff and try it again, and I'm probably like thinking a lot. So I like inking the best because all the choices have already been made, and I'm like, I can like close my eyes and listen to a podcast and just kind of, although my cat sometimes comes and ruins the vibes, but that's okay.
Fortunately, my dog hasn't figured out how to go up that high. All right, do we have a question on this side?
So what was the first comic book that inspired you to write your own comics?
Ooh.
How about you, Raina?
Well, the first comic I ever read that I remember specifically reading was Calvin and Hobbes by Bill Watterson.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's so good, it's so funny, it's such fun art to look at. So I immediately started copying Calvin and Hobbes. I started drawing Calvin, I started drawing Hobbes, and I was like, wow, this doesn't look like Calvin and Hobbes at all. And then I was like, I think I'm going to write a comic about a girl and a teddy bear, and it's going to be called like Blauvin and Mobs or something. And then I was watching a cartoon called Inspector Gadget on TV, and I thought, I'll do a comic about a kid and her cat and her aunt, and her aunt's going to be like a locksmith, Inspector Lockett, maybe. And so like all my ideas were just like exact rip-offs of things that I was into. So, and that's kind of normal. I think everybody just like either traces or copies or has like really similar ideas to the things that they're inspired by.
My first favorite comics were superhero comics because I was a boy. You know how it goes.
Wait a second. Comics don't have to be gendered.
That's true. No, excuse me. Boys in 1970s, they were choosing superhero comics, but some girls were, and a lot more are now. There's actually
Okay,
really
we've
great
got a
superheroes.
question right here.
Can you give tips on drawing?
Ooh,
Like
yeah.
how to draw certain things? Because I always have a hard time drawing hands and noses.
Hands and noses are hard. Well, you know the great thing about hands is you actually have a pair of them. And so you can, it's really great when you can model the real thing. If you can get your friends to model for them, that's wonderful. For more exotic stuff like porcupines or bicycles or whatever, sometimes you can find pictures online. But it's always best to find the real thing, and it takes time. Also, when it comes to style, just draw what comes naturally to you, and you'll find that your style is just naturally going to happen too. How about you, Raina?
I'm going to do a little tutorial here. And I'm going to turn off this layer so I can just have a blank canvas to work with. This is how I draw a nose on a character. And you're going to laugh because it's like, okay, here's a face with an ear, and here's the eyes, and then sometimes the nose looks like this. Like, that's not what a real nose looks like, but that's how I draw noses on my characters because that's a style. And you can draw noses like this. You can draw noses like, like that. You can draw noses like that. You can draw noses like that. I mean, and I know that's not the advice you're looking for, but you can draw from photographs, you can draw from real life, you can draw from looking at other cartoonists and just copying the way that they do it. I mean, and that's a matter of style. And if you look at like any cartoonist, they probably have a different style for drawing noses. I mean, manga artists sometimes just do like a little like that, but then there's like a shadow underneath them. So there's really like not one specific way to do it. And
you know, one of the very best things is that you're never alone, because when you draw that face, when you're trying to make it look real, you have a partner, and that's the person who's going to be looking at it. When some other kid or an adult looks at your picture, they're going to make it real in their imagination. You always have that helping you out.
And yeah, I mean, I know it's not really like good advice, but it really is just practice. That's the only true advice that we can give you, is that you got to keep going and doing it over and over again, and eventually you just start to get better and more practiced.
Hi, this one's specifically for Raina, but I've been reading your book since I was in kindergarten, and I'm 15 now.
What?
What is it like knowing your readers have grown up with your books and your stories, and it's shaped their childhood?
What? I thought that my readers were still all 10 years old. How is that possible? It's pretty amazing. Thank you. That's 5 kindergarten? What? I mean, that's what boggles my mind is I started writing books in 2006, and Scholastic was like, yeah, only like 8, 9, and 10-year-olds are going to read your books. So how 5-year-olds were even interested in my books, I don't really understand. But I guess because they have like cute pictures in them, so maybe.
One of the things that's cool on the road is I'm meeting parents who were Raina's fans. And now their kids are reading Raina's books. It's multi-generational now.
Those are some pretty young parents, though, because...
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but let's meet Raina and Scott at the meet and greet on the 2nd floor. Remember, no request to sign books, but everybody will get to meet them and get a book. So let's thank Raina and Scott so much for coming.